to focus on his high school play.
The Postman.
Yeah.
Kevin Costner
What?
must have been devastated.
I know, I'd be heartbroken.
But what really caught the attention of all these Redditors was this claim that he was the #1 most searched celebrity on mencelebs.com in 2006.
Now, I don't know about you.
I've never even heard of that.
I have not heard of this website.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's exactly the most reliable source to gauge someone's, celebrity status.
No, not exactly the Hollywood Walk of Fame, but it just added to this growing sense that this guy was really crafting this fictional persona for himself online.
And then, of course, you can't forget about the alleged love letters that were written to him describing his abs as sexy and delicious and tasting like apples.
Apples.
I mean, where do you even begin with that?
I don't even know.
It's just...
You see all of these just completely outlandish claims taken together. They painted this picture of a person who was just desperate for attention.
Yeah.
Someone who's willing to kind of bend reality
Totally.
to fit this narrative that he wants to create.
So what was the initial reaction on Reddit like? Were people buying this?
Well, the Reddit thread is this fascinating mix of disbelief,
Okay.
humor, and genuine curiosity.
Right.
Some people were quick to label him as a fraud, a narcissist.
Okay.
They meticulously debunked his claims, pointed out inconsistencies, and they even uncovered fake fan sites that all seemed to pop up around the same time.
Wait, fake fan sites.
Oh yeah, the internet sleuths were on fire back then. They discovered that a lot of these supporting articles and fan pages praising Holzier were actually created by accounts with no other online activity.
Huh.
Very suspicious.
So it sounds like people were catching on pretty quickly that something wasn't quite right.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
And some of them even started drawing parallels to other figures who created false identities online. So like there were comparisons to the fictional character Lorenzo von Matterhorn from How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah.
Who invented this persona to impress women.
Oh, I love that show.
Yeah.
Von Matterhorn was the best.
He was a master of fabrication.
But some of these comparisons went to some pretty dark places too, right?
Yes, they did. So some people even brought up Luca Magnotta.
Right.
Now, obviously, Magnotta's case is much darker and more sinister.
Right.
But both he and Holzier highlight how easy it is to construct these larger-than-life personas online.
Yeah.
And how that can have very real consequences.
It's true. It's true.
For better or for worse.
It's almost like this thread became this little microcosm of internet culture,
Yes.
with all the humor, the skepticism, the sleuthing, the tendency to go down these rabbit holes.
Exactly. And what I find particularly interesting is how the Redditors grappled with Holzier's motivations.
Yeah.
Like, was he just a delusional, aspiring actor?
Right.
A desperate attention seeker? Or was there something more calculated at play? Some people even theorize that it was all a social experiment.
Oh, wow.
Or a piece of performance art.
Performance art.
Yeah, think about it. Performance art is all about blurring the lines between art and life.
Okay.
So some people thought that Holzier's whole online persona was a commentary on how we create these fake identities online and how easily we consume and believe them.
Wow, that's actually a really interesting take.
Yeah.
It's like he's holding up a mirror to our obsession with online celebrity and fabricated narratives.
Exactly. But while some people were busy, analyzing the deeper meaning, others were just having fun with it.
Of course.
The thread is full of jokes, memes, and people just creating these fictional backstories for Holzier.
Oh, wow.
Adding to his already outrageous mythology, it's like they were all participating in this act of storytelling together, whether they realized it or not.
It sounds like a wild ride, but you said that not everyone was critical of Holzier, right?
That's right. There were actually some Redditors who defended him.
Really?
Yeah.
What were they saying?
They argued that his actions, however bizarre, were ultimately harmless.
Okay.
They saw him as an underdog, a creative self-promoter.
Right.
Just trying to get noticed.
So they kind of saw him as a folk hero.
In a way.
A guy taking on the Hollywood establishment with his own unique methods.
They argued that his tactics, while maybe a little more outlandish, weren't that different from what a lot of celebrities do to manage their public image.
Yeah, when you think about it, press releases, staged paparazzi photos, carefully curated social media feeds, it's all part of constructing a narrative.
It is.
Even if it's not entirely true. That's a good point.
Yeah, it does make you wonder where the line is between creative self-promotion and just straight up lying.
Right.
But I'm guessing this whole thing didn't end with everyone, holding hands and singing Kumbaya.
Well, let's just say things got even more interesting when James Holzier himself decided to enter the chat.
Wait, what? He joined the Reddit thread.
That's what it seemed like.
The real James Holzier.
Multiple accounts claiming to be him
Oh, wow.
started popping up,
Okay, this is getting good.
engaging with the Redditors, defending himself, and even leaning into the absurdity of it all.
Okay, now I'm really hooked. What did he say?
Well, one account used the handle James Holzier. He accused the other accounts of being imposters,
Okay.
trying to sabotage his appearance on Reddit.
Wow.
He even declared, and I quote, "Every James Holzier phony account is 2 hours old. They heard of me joining this site called Reddit and flooded here to sabotage my appearance."
Wow. So he's playing the victim card even as he's doubling down on these outlandish claims.
Pretty much.
This guy is unbelievable. Another account. Official James Holzier simply told everyone to frick off.
Charming.
It was this bizarre mix of defensiveness and aggression,
Yeah.
and this strange performative persona that just blurred the lines even further.
So what did the Redditors make of this sudden appearance of, the man himself?
Yeah.
Did they believe it was really him?
Some were skeptical,
Yeah.
questioning whether he was genuinely defending himself or just playing along with the joke.
Okay.
Others were just amused by the chaos he was creating.
Right.
One user even asked, "Mr. Holzier, are you getting my letters?"
Wait, the love letters. The ones describing his abs.
The very same.
Oh my God.
And to everyone's surprise, the account claiming to be Holzier replied, "Yes, please stop sending them."
You cannot make this stuff up.
I know, right?
I mean, we're talking about a real-time interaction
It's insane.
between the subject of an internet deep dive
Right.
and the people dissecting his persona.
Yes.
That's got to be surreal.
It's unlike anything I've ever seen before.
Hold that thought. This is getting way too juicy to stop now.
Welcome back. So before we got sidetracked by all this talk about, apple-flavored abs,
Yeah.
we were talking about James Holzier making his grand entrance into his own Reddit thread.
Right. And it sounds like things were already getting a little heated.
They were getting spicy, to say the least.
So what happened next?
So the Redditors, fueled by this mix of curiosity,
Yeah.
and let's be real, a little bit of mischief,
Sure.
they start asking Holzier these increasingly personal questions.
Okay, like what?
So someone asks him about his shoe size,
Shoe size.
and he responds completely deadpan, size 11.5 in men's.
Okay, that's kind of funny, I guess.
It is, but
That's all
then
that-
it asks if he would bang them.
Whoa. Okay, that's crossing a line.
You would think, right, but the account that claims to be Holzier responds with, "I have no standards outside the bedroom, so why not in?"
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I mean, is this guy for real? I'm not sure whether to laugh or be seriously concerned.
It's a weird mix of emotions, right?
It is.
On one hand, you can't help but be amused by how ridiculous it all is.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it's like, are we watching someone spiral?
Right.
Or maybe he's this master troll who's playing the entire internet.
Okay, that's a terrifying thought.
It is.
It's like we're trying to solve a puzzle, but the pieces keep changing shape.
Right.
And it's hard to tell what's real and what's fake.
Exactly. And I think this speaks to this larger issue of online identity.
Okay.
Like, we all have the ability to curate our own personas online to present this version of ourselves that may or may not be true.
So you're saying that even though Holzier's case is extreme, there's a part of his story that we can all relate to.
Absolutely.
This pressure to present this perfect image online.
We're all guilty of it.
Yeah, that's true.
We're quick to judge Holzier for his fabrications, but how often do we filter our photos or
Okay.
craft these witty captions or just highlight the most flattering parts of our lives?
It's true. It's all about constructing a narrative.
It is whether we realize it or not.
So it's like Holzier is holding up this mirror
Yeah.
to our own anxieties and aspirations in this digital age.
And what I find fascinating about this Reddit thread is that it captures that tension perfectly. On one hand, you have people analyzing Holzier's claims, poking fun at him,
Right.
indulging in a little bit of schadenfreude,
That's a good word.
that pleasure of watching someone else's carefully constructed persona just completely unravel.
And on the other hand,
On the other hand, you have these people who are expressing real concern for Holzier. They're worried about his well-being.
Yeah.
They think all this attention, all this scrutiny could have negative consequences for him.
so even as they're participating in this spectacle, They're starting to think about the ethics of it all.
Exactly. And it's not just about Holzier's well-being either.
Okay.
It's about the responsibility we all have when we engage in these kinds of stories online.
What do you mean?
Well, think about it. You stumble across this thread about this guy who's claiming to have, the best abs in the world.
Right.
And this insane backstory.
Yeah.
Do you keep reading? Do you comment? Do you share it?
I mean, probably.
Every click, every comment, every share, it all contributes to the narrative.
Wow. I never thought about it like that.
It's like we're all part of this giant ecosystem of online storytelling, and our actions have consequences whether we intend them to or not.
It's true.
And that's what makes the James Holzier story so fascinating.
Yeah.
It's not just about one man's strange attempt at fame.
Okay.
It's a reflection of our own relationship with truth, with celebrity, and with the power of online narratives.
It's also about this realization that maybe we're all complicit in creating the very things we claim to be critiquing.
That's a great point.
So how does that awareness change the course of the thread?
Well, that's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
As the Redditors start to think about their responsibility,
Yeah.
the thread starts to evolve.
Yeah.
It becomes less about debunking Holzier and more about analyzing the phenomenon itself.
So it becomes like a meta-narrative.
Exactly.
Okay, break that down for me. What do you mean by a meta-narrative?
It's like a story within a story.
Okay,
The Redditors start to analyze their own reactions,
right.
their own motivations for participating in the thread.
Yeah.
They start to dissect the very act of online scrutiny
Yeah.
and the strange dynamics of online communities.
So it's almost like they're holding up a mirror to themselves,
Exactly.
examining their own role in this whole thing.
And that's where we really see this deep dive aspect of the thread emerge.
Interesting.
It's no longer just about James Holzier.
Okay.
It's about internet culture, the nature of fame, the ethics of online exposure, and the power of collective storytelling.
It's blowing my mind. It's like this thread started out as this total train wreck, but it's turned into this fascinating look at human behavior in the digital age.
And it raises all these really important questions.
And what is
What happens when the lines between reality and fabrication become blurred?
right?
What is our responsibility to the people whose lives are dissected online?
Good question.
And ultimately, what does it say about us, the audience,
Yeah.
who consumes and perpetuates these narratives?
It's a good point. We're not just passive observers. We're active participants in shaping the online world.
That's a powerful realization.
And it sounds like the Redditors are starting to grapple with that as the thread goes on.
They're starting to question their own roles.
Okay.
And some even decide to disengage
Right.
because they recognize that their participation is only making things worse.
So even within this chaotic online space, there's this undercurrent of self-awareness and ethical reflection
Exactly. It's like the internet is having this conversation with itself about its own power.
and its responsibility.
Yes.
Wow.
And as the thread progresses, that conversation becomes more nuanced, more thoughtful, and more human.
This has been an incredible journey so far. I can't wait to see where it goes from here. Okay, so we've seen the rise of the James Holzier myths, the Reddit deep dive, and even Holzier himself jumping into the comment section, but where does it all go from there?
Well, it's at this point that the Redditors start to realize the power they actually have.
Okay.
They're starting to understand that their actions, their collective effort to expose Holzier's fabrications are actually shaping his reality.
So they're not just watching this phenomenon unfold, they're actually influencing it.
Exactly. And this sparks a debate in the thread
Okay.
about the ethics of it all. Some argue that Holzier was asking for this kind of attention and he deserves to be ridiculed, but others are starting to worry about what might happen to him.
Right. They're worried that all this attention might push him further into this fantasy world or even lead to real world harm.
Exactly. And it's this ethical dilemma that makes the thread so interesting.
Yeah.
It's not just about debunking a liar. It's about a community struggling with these really complex issues of truth and online responsibility.
It's like they're having this public conversation with themselves about the power of the internet
The power to build up and tear down.
to entertain and to harm.
Exactly.
So how does this ethical debate change things? How does the thread evolve?
Well, some users start to feel uncomfortable and they choose to disengage.
Okay.
They recognize that their participation is just adding fuel to the fire.
That makes sense.
Others shift their focus away from Holzier himself.
And they start to look at the bigger picture.
Right, the meta-narrative.
You keep using that word,
I know, it's a good one.
but I still don't totally get it. What does it mean in this context?
Think of it this way. The Redditors are now analyzing the thread itself like it's some kind of experiment.
Okay.